reading from Psalm 139. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, and is so high that I cannot attain it. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light as you. For it was you who formed me in my inward parts, and you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works that I know very well. The word of the Lord. Good morning. Thank you all for gathering here today. When I first got the email about being a Friday morning prayer speaker, I was ecstatic. I said absolutely, and I went over to my laptop to begin writing. I sat down, I did a little prayer. I said, God, let's write something good. My fingers are on the keyboard, and nothing. Not a single idea came to me. I was like, come on, God, what do the people want to hear today? A few ideas started coming to me. There was one time where I got nervous about something, and then the thing that I was nervous about finally came, and I was no longer nervous. And that's God's way of saying, cast all your fears on me because I care, right? Yeah, that story seemed a little short-lived. Then I thought of another idea. There was one time where I was feeling upset, and then I started thinking about all the things I was grateful for, and then I was no longer upset. And that's God's way of saying, give praise and thanks to me because I'm the Lord your God. Yeah, it was another story that didn't really pack a punch. Now, don't get me wrong, I love sermons about trusting God when things are tough and expressing gratitude, but when I tried to write a sermon about these topics, they seemed too simplistic. It was almost as if I was trying to say, yeah, I had a bad day, but God solved all my problems and everything's fine now. And we all know life is more complex than that. So as I was struggling to come up with an idea, I realized something. The lack of me having an idea is actually a pretty good idea to talk about. So why was it so hard for me to come up with something to talk about? Growing up, I always admired my pastors and youth leaders. I saw them as these inspiring people that preached compelling stories. When I first learned about testimonies, many of the stories I heard were these grandiose transformations. As someone that grew up in the church all my life, my testimony didn't feel very exciting. If my relationship with Jesus was like a road trip, I've always felt like I was in the car with him. I couldn't really pinpoint an exact moment where I felt like I was hitchhiking on the side of the road, and I stopped by a billboard sign that says, hey, come follow me, and Jesus just swerves through 4 lanes of traffic just to pick me up. Yeah, it just kind of always felt like I was in the car with Jesus. But if we were to extend that metaphor, I'd have to ask the question, who was driving the car? I wish I could easily say that God was the one driving the car, but my pride and ego make me think that I'm the one driving the car. I think about myself a lot. If I did well on a test, well, it's because I studied really hard. If I got picked for a job, well, I'm just that talented and qualified. I have a lot of friends. I'm just that funny and awesome to hang out with. I start to place my worth on these earthly things, and I bet you can imagine what happens when those earthly things fade away. I don't do well on a test. That must mean that I'm stupid. I don't get the job. I must be worthless. Nobody wants to hang out with me. I must be unlovable. So how do we solve this problem of placing my self-worth on these achievements? Well, you talk about it. Talk about it with God. Talk about it with a friend. Talk about it with a counselor. Talk about it to everyone at morning prayer. It seems so easy, but it's really not. Let's remember that as the person recovering from putting my self-worth in these worldly objects, I highly esteem myself on being independent, being the one that thinks she's driving the car. Asking for help is hard. Admitting that not everything is perfect is hard. Being vulnerable is hard, and letting go of the steering wheel is hard. So remember when I talked about how all the testimonies I heard were these grandiose narratives? Can you kind of see how I started to put these value judgments on people's faith journey? I mean, this person's story, it's so cool and inspiring. Meanwhile, I'm here. What do I have to contribute? The answer is more than I give myself credit for. I know that my story here today is going to resonate with some people. The type of people that want to plan out the entire road trip, even though God's the one controlling the GPS. I hope that you know that you are not alone. As I head into my senior year at Valpo, I pray that I continue to learn to let go of the steering wheel and let God direct my path. I know my worth is in Him because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. The journey is far from over, and I look forward to what is to come. Thank you.